Greetings, everyone. This is Terry Naturally with another edition of Terry Talks Nutrition. We're here every weekend, same time, same station. You can't lose us. We're going to be here for a long, long time. And I want to be here for a long, long time. So I get as much out of this presentation as you do, because we do research to come up with ideas, alternative medicine remedies, different scientific studies, and all to share with you so you can make better choices. And that's all it is. If you want better health, you got to find a way to have better choices to have better health. All disease is caused by our lifestyle choices. Lifestyle, how we live, what we do on a daily basis due to the choices we make that affects our health, good or bad. Good choices, good health. Bad choices, bad health. And you look around in America, wow, a lot of people are making a lot of bad choices. There's no reason to smoke. There's no reasons to be overweight. There's no reason to have a condition called obesity. These are all things that we choose to do. And don't tell me, oh, I can't lose weight. Well, the way you're living and how you're eating and the foods you eat keep you from losing weight. You have to change your lifestyle, change your diet, change your behavior. And it's all possible. Drugs are necessary. In an emergency, you want a drug. You've been hit by a car. You've been riding your bike and somebody hit you. And you're severely injured. You want a drug. Vitamin C is not going to help. But nutrition and vitamin C long-term will provide the best nutrition for you. So it comes down to nutrition, lifestyle choices, the hours of sleep, the hours of exercise, or the amount of exercise. We can all make changes. And the more changes we make, the better changes we make, the better health we will have. The doctor will never, ever provide a way for us to become healthier. They study disease. They study on how to conquer disease. But disease is only brought on by the wrong diet, the food we eat. As we eat less nutrition or nutritional options, our body does not have the immune system it should have. It's not healthy. It's compromised. It's underactive. It can't defend our body from disease. Food is our best medicine. It is our only medicine. But we have been blindsided by drug companies and the food manufacturers to allow us to think that they are the answer to our health. And they are only providing man-made food, garbage, junk, not nature, not naturally produced. And then we have drugs. And then we have more drugs to put out the fire of the first drugs. America is in a very bad place, health-wise. Out of 37 industrialized countries, based on the health of each country, America is 37th, the very bottom of the list of countries around the world based on their health. It's not very good. And I think a lot of violence, a lot of fighting, arguing, being nasty, unkind, all comes because we feel so bad that we're not happy. And we'd rather bite somebody's head off than be kind. And it's all because how we live to make us so unhappy, so depressed. But we can change that. And we have a very good lineup of ingredients to talk about today, especially Boswellia and frankincense oil. Boswellia is frankincense. And if you're Catholic, you might know what frankincense is. It's the incense that we burn during certain ceremonies in church. But they are very medicinal. So we'll talk about frankincense oil and Boswellia. And then we'll talk about how bad is anger for your heart. You know, even our attitude. When we're happy and smiling and feeling good, and our body is healthier. And when we have an unhealthy body, we are more intense, angry, belligerent, obnoxious, unkind. Then let's take a closer look between blood sugar levels and dementia. And we'll have a closer look at kidney disease and function. And you know what? It's hard to believe, but obesity is the new smoking. Smoking causes a lot of cancers, a lot of diseases. And obesity is catching up. And some experts say actually it's past smoking. And if you want a healthier liver, go to bed early. Get a good night's sleep. And then I'm going to tell you about 3 natural remedies for headaches. But let's start with frankincense oil. Actually, frankincense oil comes from an ancient tree, but it has become a modern medicine. Boswellia is a tree that is native to India, northern Africa, and the Arabian Peninsula, with over 20 distinct species. It's a medicine, and it's based on a resin or a sap derived from scraping the tree bark. When we collect the sap of maple trees for maple syrup, we make a little hole in the tree, let the sap run out into a pail. We boil that down into maple syrup. Well, when they scrape the tree bark of the Boswellia tree, it weeps. And it actually tears down in like a teardrop, called the tears of India. And then they scrape those teardrops off that are hardened on the outside of the bark, pulverize them, dry them into a powder. And that is a Boswellia dried resin. But they also can actually extract frankincense oil from the tree. And these are some of the oldest medicines in the world. And they have been used medicinally for thousands of years. For what? Arthritis, joint disease, painful joints, also known for diarrhea, for treating ringworm, boils, fevers, skin and blood diseases, cardiovascular diseases, mouth sores, sore throat, bronchitis, asthma, cough, vaginal discharges, hair loss, jaundice, hemorrhoids, and stimulation of the liver. Now, if you told this to a doctor, that Boswellia could accomplish correcting many of these conditions or preventing them, they would fall off their chair. They would think you're crazy. And why? Because doctors use drugs. And a drug is one molecule. And natural plants like Boswellia is not one molecule. That is made to treat one pathway in the body. Nature has incorporated hundreds, if not thousands, of molecules in plants. So those molecules can affect many, many different pathways of the body at the same time. So that's why it can affect bronchitis, cardiovascular diseases, arthritis, asthma, cough. All these conditions are being treated by the same herb. So how does it work? Well, we have a pathway in our body called 5-LOX. L-O-X, 5-LOX. And you know, sometimes you hear a drug commercial or some doctor speaking of having a COX-2 inhibitor. The COX-2 pathway is associated with inflammation and pain and cardiovascular disease and many other conditions. So they make drugs to stop the COX-2 enzyme or the COX-2 pathway. And one of the best inhibitors that prevents inflammation and pain is curcumin. Curcumin inhibits the overexpression of the COX-2 enzyme or pathway. You don't want to kill it. You don't want to stop it. You don't want to inhibit it entirely because we need that pathway to be healthy. But when it's overworking, it needs to be reduced temporarily or long term. You use an inhibitor like curcumin. Well, in the case of Boswellia, it actually inhibits the activity of the 5-LOX enzyme or pathway. That's in a different kind of pathway. And the 5-LOX pathway, if it's overexpressed, stress, inflammation, all kinds of things can cause the 5-LOX pathway or enzyme to be overactive. You don't want to have overactivity or underactivity. You want balance. Nature balances pathways. The 5-LOX triggers inflammation, especially when it's associated with asthma, allergies, COPD, and any other respiratory diseases. Also intestinal tract diseases like IBS, IBD, colitis, Crohn's disease, and other intestinal diseases, and cancer. The 5-LOX activity, when it's overexpressed, overactive, malfunctioning, stimulates cancer cell growth. But by blocking the 5-LOX pathway, slowing it down, bringing it into a balance, restores the body's own ability to kill off cancer cells. Very, very effective and good research to show that it works. Now, frankincense, it's the oil from the same tree. And studies have shown that it can shrink melanoma tumors. Melanoma is one of the most aggressive forms of skin cancer. You can't let skin cancer be neglected. If you have any sore or any mole or anything that looks unusual, don't put it off. See your doctor. The skin cancer called melanoma is highly likely to spread fast, called metastasize. And once it does, prognosis is very, very poor. You don't have much time. It's so aggressive and it spreads so fast. The drugs that are used to treat melanoma are very harsh. It's really a double-edged sword. You want to treat the cancer, but the drugs that are developed now for treating cancer are as bad as the cancer. In fact, chemotherapy drugs used to treat melanoma frequently cause liver damage and disease. A new study looked at the effects of 14 days, 2 weeks, of frankincense essential oil to treat melanoma, skin cancer. Now, this was an animal model. We can't use humans in work on cancer cases. In day 1, all the animals had tumors of about the same size. Day 6, tumor size in untreated control groups increased by 25%. The tumors were growing. Increased 25% in just 5 days. But the frankincense essential oil only increased by 2%. And then on day 14, just 2 weeks, tumor size has doubled in the untreated group known as the control group. And the frankincense essential oil group that was treated with the frankincense oil, the tumors decreased by 25%. And there were no adverse effects using frankincense oil. Very, very safe. No adverse effects or side effects in the liver or any other body system. And frankincense oil, in fact, you can find frankincense oil in more health food stores. You can even find roll-ons because it's also very effective for joint pain. You can roll it on your knees or your elbows, wherever, and it has a tremendous effect. Now, I want to give you more on Boswellia and frankincense for cancer. There's a lot of good research. Pancreatic cancer, another very fast, aggressive cancer. And again, this is the animal model. The animals receiving frankincense oil had a 65% decrease in the size of the tumors versus the untreated animals. In bladder cancer, This was a cell study, laboratory study, in vitro. 24 hours of exposure to frankincense oil resulted in 100% cancer cell death. Now, this is in a laboratory. This is in a petri dish. These are cells. But that's where a lot of the research starts. So it can kill off all 100% cancer cells through death of the cells when subjected to frankincense oil. And while the normal bladder cells, they are completely unchanged and unharmed. So it only affected the cancer cells, not the normal healthy cells. Now, there's a compound in Boswellia that's about a foot long. So we call it AKBA, which is the most active compound in Boswellia. Completely stopped colon cancer, cell migration, and invasion. This is a natural substance that you can buy in any good health food store. They also took the AKBA. Most Boswellias are not 100% AKBA. They run about 10 to 20%. And that has been sufficient and enough of the AKBA to be effective. They did another really great study on cancer, colon cancer. The combination of Boswellia, standardized for AKBA, and curcumin, the two together, led to an 80% reduction in colon cancer tumor size. Now, you're being treated by a physician, oncologist, for cancer. Might be cancer of the colon. They have found that AKBA and curcumin actually make the cancer grow less and become less aggressive, and makes the drug treating the cancer prescribed by the physician less toxic and more effective, even on a lower dosage. So when doctors might diagnose a cancer patient and then warns them not to use anything outside of the cancer chemotherapy. But from all the research I've seen, all the studies I've read, that by combining natural ingredients like AKBA with curcumin actually made the cancer less aggressive, does not spread as far, and reducing the size of the tumors dramatically, significantly, and without any side effects or adverse events. It's the best of two worlds. Now, I'm not telling you not to take your doctor's advice. A doctor has excellent intentions. But they don't know the natural side of treatments, the natural alternatives, like with Boswellia, with curcumin. These are very powerful, but make sure you get a very high quality material. I just came back from a conference in Geneva, Switzerland. And there was some research a year or two ago, primarily in Italy, where people were getting sick and children were getting sick on curcumin. Well, what they found out was, and this is still ongoing, about 70% of all turmeric and curcumin is spiked with synthetic curcumin, up to 10 to 20%, which drastically reduces the cost and the price of turmeric. So they're using synthetic. Not everybody knows that. So you've got to become very, very aware of what quality products you buy that can make a difference. And price isn't always the answer. But good raw materials, high quality raw materials, are more expensive. And for companies wanting to increase their revenue, they lower the price of their product because right now people are stretched on the dollar because of inflation. Cost has gone up drastically. They want to save some money. They still want to take Boswellia and curcumin. So manufacturers spike with synthetic curcumin in turmeric and curcumin to lower the price, but it lowers the quality, lowers the results, lowers a more positive outcome. So be very careful what you buy. Buy from a company that you can trust, that provides the best return on your health. Now I'll come back with more. In fact, I'll tell you what you should know more about frankincense oil and Boswellia right after these messages. We're going to take a quick break right here. I am Terry Naturally, and this is Terry Talks Nutrition. And welcome back, my friends. This is Terry Naturally. We'll be here to the top of the hour. We have a lot more time to discuss these healthy options, healthy alternatives. It isn't all drugs, my friends. Drugs are important. I'll never say they aren't. But we are overusing drugs as the answer when we should be making changes instead of taking drugs. Find out why we have this disease. What have we been doing differently? Are we burning the candle at both ends? Are we going without sleep? Are we laying on the couch eating snack foods all night? Are we drinking 6, 7, 8 cans of sugar-laden soft drinks? Are we eating fast food? No fruits, no vegetables, no good quality proteins, no good quality fats. So here's what you should know about Boswellia and frankincense oil. So look for Boswellia extract. And the species is Boswellia serrata. And the last part of that is S-E-R-R-A-T-A, serrata. Boswellia serrata. And it's labeled to contain less than 5% beta-boswellic acids. There's a strange occurrence in Boswellia. There is a boswellic acid called beta-boswellic acid. And it has the ability to increase inflammation. Well, we don't want to increase inflammation. We want to reduce inflammation. So you should make sure that you get less than 5% beta-boswellic acid and at least 10% of AKBA, which is the most powerful compound in Boswellia. So look for the frankincense oil, also from Boswellia serrata, and then a dosage of 300 to 600 milligrams of Boswellia with frankincense oil, and do this daily. Boswellia has absolutely no known side effects, no known adverse events, very, very safe. There has never been a known side effect. These are the qualities of products you want to use for your health. Just because you take something in a form of a supplement or a natural product doesn't mean that it's going to perform well. You want something that has high quality, proper dosage. Maybe you have some boosters like gamma-cyclodextrin that can boost the absorption, stability, and the bioavailability of the substance you're taking. Follow the science, not the money. Don't follow the money. Follow the science. The science will lead you to a better health. Now, we all get angered sometime. I mean, gee whiz, we're humans. But you know, it's bad for your heart. You might not think so. You might just get angry and say, oh, why did I do that? Well, I tell you what, all these things affect our health. And anger is hard on your heart. A recent new clinical study, 280 healthy adults, mostly young. In fact, their average age was about 26. They had no history of heart disease. They had no history of diabetes type 2, nor did they have high blood pressure. They were relatively in health, good health. While their blood vessels were being monitored, each subject or participant experienced a personal talk or reading designed to elicit specific emotions: anxiety, sorrow, fear, anger, or a neutral experience that had no emotional content. Now, versus other emotions. Anger caused constriction of the blood vessels, and therefore impairing blood flow. Less blood flowing to the heart and everywhere else throughout the body. You know, our arteries are like the plumbing system in your house. That's how you get water from the street to your faucet. And the blood flow is how we move all the nutrients and all the nutrition to the heart. And the effects of this impairing of the blood flow by anger lasted up to 40 minutes after the angry outburst was over. The impaired blood flow to the heart is often a precursor of more serious heart problems, including plaque buildup, and eventually a heart attack or a stroke. Previous research has noted that people with the greatest problems controlling their anger are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with heart disease and 2 to 3 times more likely to die from a heart attack. Anger. Not good for us. Think before you get angry. Why do you need to get angry? Can't you solve it? Can't you work it out? Can't you communicate it? Makes it much more simple. So how do you get anger under control? Well, you can use professional therapy. Anger has been linked to a disrupted functioning of the pituitary and the adrenal glands, essentially the body's stress response system. And the role of cortisol and the levels of those cortisol and anger is complicated. Some studies report low cortisol levels are associated with anger and angry outbursts. And other studies note that cortisol levels increase when people are angry. We don't have all the answers. Many times we find things that work because we do scientific studies, we do clinical data, clinical studies, using natural products, and we find that they work. Sometimes knowing how they work isn't available yet. More research has to be done. But how do you restore balance to our body and to the adrenal glands and to the pituitary glands? How do we balance all this? Well, I think a good quality multivitamin and mineral supplement is a must. And not a one a day. 1 tablet a day of a multivitamin and mineral supplement doesn't give you all the nutrients that are required in the dosage that is normal for the human body. And then I always like adaptogens. And it kind of sounds like adaptogens are there to help your body to adapt. That's what it is. Your body adapts to changes. Cold weather, hot weather, anger, whatever it might be. Conflicts. Some don't know how to respond. And adaptogens help us to be able to respond to stress, fatigue, exhaustion, tiredness. And the combination that I like is ashwagandha, which is commonly called Indian ginseng, and rhodiola. It's a great combination for reducing the stress you're under and making you have a more balanced, what they call HPA axis, hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal glands. When you can't stand stress, or when you get up in a hurry off a couch, or when you're lying in bed, you get up in a hurry, and you see stars, or you bend over and you see stars, or you bend over and you get faint. That's the adrenal glands. The adrenals are suffering. You have what they call adrenal insufficiency. And ashwagandha and rhodiola help to support this HPA axis. Adrenal extract is a natural supplement. The adrenals are extracted from organic animals, beef primarily. And it's a natural source of active compounds, active hormones, and other nutrients to support the adrenal glands. When your thyroid is not working well, it's underactive. Doctors make out a prescription for natural thyroid extract. If your adrenals are not working well, and they have what we call adrenal insufficiency, adrenal gland extract can work extremely well for supplying the nutrients, the active hormones, and the compounds to support the function of the adrenal glands. Dementia is skyrocketing. Alzheimer's disease. By the year 2060, a third of our population, a third will have Alzheimer's disease. So is there a connection that is increasing dementia and Alzheimer's disease? Yes, there is a connection. And that connection is between blood sugar, type 2 diabetes. Sugar is not healthy at all. It's one of the most innocent, common, consumed, but the most harmful. And I can't call it a food. It's not a food. It has no value. It's a sweetener. It has no value in nutrition. But we consume large quantities, hundreds of pounds of sugar per year, per individual. So there's a huge link between diet, there's all again, the choice of the diet creates good health or bad health. And the diet that we choose is commonly causing diabetes type 2 and Alzheimer's disease. You know, the brain is about 2% of our body weight, but uses 20% of the body's glucose intake for energy. But high blood sugar levels, like so many people today have, the type 2 diabetics, the pre-diabetics that are just inches away from being a blown out diabetic. And it's not a disease. You have in your hands the control to be a diabetic or not a diabetic. Because you are eating what's causing type 2 diabetes, and that is sugar. There are a small percentage of people that really do have type 2 diabetes. The rest all have a high blood sugar level. The doctor looks at the blood. Oh my gosh, you're way over your limits for blood sugar. But that's only on the spur of the moment. You want to look at your A1C levels, which gives you the long-term trend on what your blood sugar level is doing. But high blood sugar levels are linked to Alzheimer's disease. In fact, almost 80% of people with Alzheimer's disease also have type 2 diabetes. Many medical experts call Alzheimer's disease type 3, diabetes type 3. We know what type 2 is. They're referring to Alzheimer's disease as type 3. Many of our disease conditions, our malnutrition, are caused by sugar. And it comes in all kinds of products and forms of sugar. In fact, the connection between high blood sugar and Alzheimer's disease is so strong. And that's what I'm telling you about the experts. Alzheimer's disease is sometimes called type 3 diabetes or diabetes of the brain. Diabetes of the brain. There's one thing that could make you healthier within a matter of months. Stop all known sugar, and especially soft drinks with sugar, and lower the level of carbohydrates overall. Increase your level of protein, and good quality protein. And make sure you get plenty of good quality fats. And the best fat you can possibly include in your diet is extra virgin olive oil. Just as a sidebar, they did a study with olive oil, and they found that the people that consumed about a half a tablespoon of olive oil daily were much healthier than those who did not. And it did not matter about the diet. It did not matter what quality of diet they were consuming. With the olive oil, they were healthier. You know, research now has shown that people with Alzheimer's disease don't break down sugar efficiently in their brains. In fact, brain cells become unable to respond to insulin. Insulin is a hormone that transports the sugar into the cell. The cell uses it to burn for energy, but insulin becomes ineffective, and the cells build up a resistance to the use of insulin. And this leads to inflammation of the brain, oxidative stress of the brain, and a buildup of plaque in the brain. And this is the foundation for Alzheimer's disease. If you start early, not when you have Alzheimer's disease, but start early in life and start using these health practices to prevent diseases, to maintain a better level of health overall, the chances of you coming down with Alzheimer's disease will be far less. You're taking a precautionary measure to use prevention to be healthy. Prevention is the cure. If you don't have it, you don't need to cure it. And when you start young, but you know, young people, they think they are invincible. They can do anything they want. They're stronger, they're healthier, they recover faster. If they have an injury, they recover faster. If they do certain physical therapy, they actually improve more quickly. It's like they unwrap their body to become healthier, quicker, faster, and more easily. As people get older, the body has less ability to improve. It takes longer. But it can be done, no matter what age, what condition. It can be done. Now, the ketogenic diet has been proven for Alzheimer's disease patients. Ketogenic. You know, if people with Alzheimer's disease can't use glucose as fuel for their brains because their brain cells can't process it, what is the alternative? And the answer is ketones. And we make ketones from the diet called ketogenic diet. When sugar or glucose or fructose or galactose is in short supply, the body can burn fat for energy. You will see such an increased quality of life, health-wise, energy, happiness. You'll just feel tremendously better in a very short period of time when you adopt the ketogenic diet. Researchers tested a ketogenic diet in patients with mild Alzheimer's disease for 3 months. 3 months. Mental function score improved by an average of 20% versus the baseline. Every participant showed improvement. Everyone. When the ketogenic diet was discontinued at the end of the study, mental function scores immediately declined to the baseline level that was established before the ketogenic diet was suggested or recommended. Ketogenic diet. If you want to learn more about the ketogenic diet, go to 2 websites. You can go to either one, both of them. One is called ketogenicdietresource.com. ketogenicdietresource.com. The other one is called the Diet Doctor. Diet Doctor. They both emphasize the ketogenic diet, not just for Alzheimer's disease, but for every disease known to man. Good quality protein, lots of protein. At least 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Lots of olive oil for fats. It's the best fat of all to include with your diet. And then reduce significantly your intake of carbohydrates. I would absolutely no bread, no pasta. You will get some carbohydrates from your vegetables and your fruits. You'll feel fantastic. Sugar makes us very unhealthy. And carbohydrates are another source of sugar. All carbohydrates, all starch, has to be converted in the body to sugar to be metabolized. So we need to cut down on the carbs. Until you get used to it, get a carb counter. It's a booklet that tells you how many carbs are in certain foods. They will use brand names, and they'll just use individual, like fruits, vegetables, whatever, beans, and find out how many carbs you eat a day. The average in America is about 400 to 500 grams of carbohydrates. I try not to go over 50 grams per day. Sometimes it's only at 10 or 20. I don't metabolize carbohydrates. I don't metabolize sugars. And I have never, ever felt better than I have right now after I started using the ketogenic diet many years ago. And if you are overweight, don't worry about it. Once you get on the ketogenic diet, your body will shed fat like a fish sheds scales. It just works. You don't even have to try. You don't even have to count calories. You don't have to have certain size portions. Just eat the ketogenic diet and the foods that are recommended on the ketogenic diet, and you will shed weight like crazy. And that, my friends, I'm out of time for today. It's time for me to run out and hopefully get into some sunshine. I need some. I think we all do. So, my friends, make some changes in your life. It's your life. It's your health. And you and I are responsible for taking care of our health. No one else. And say a prayer for this crazy world. And God bless you. And God bless this great country.
Thank you for listening to Terry Talks Nutrition Weekly Show. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, including Apple, Google, and iHeartRadio.